So welcome here to our semifinal match, the number 2 versus 3 seed, Dylan Donegan versus Luke Feeney. We watched Dylan play a mirror match with the Saheeli deck earlier this tournament against Ali Antrazi. Looked fantastic in that. It's going to be a bit harder here. Luke Feeney, less of a known name, but he's got some edges on paper that Dylan's going to have to overcome.
Dylan does have the advantage of being the 2nd seed. He'll be on the play against Feeney, the 3rd seed.
Both players keeping on 6s. And when we saw this last time, Dylan placed a high priority on lands and a control role. Something you'd really expect in this.
Yes.
So players will both start by trading land drops. Remember, deck lists are public. So Dylan is aware that there's no combo in Luke's deck.
Frequently what we've seen in these Jeskai mirrors is one player is able to cast a turn 3 Saheeli Rai, and then from there the texture of the game shifts dramatically. Feeney unable to do that, and Dylan not presenting that.
And then step anticipate though for Luke. Dylan that on turn 3 picked up one of his own. Now Dylan's turn to anticipate.
And Dylan only had 3 lands in his hand, so he's looking for a 4th one. And he did find an Ether Hub.
Nahiri the Harbinger is going to be the play for Dylan. This is into the possibility of a negate.
And Feeney does have it.
All right, so
very fortunate.
Board still clean. We go back over to Luke. Now Luke does not have any Nahiris in his main deck either. The only Planeswalkers he has is 2 copies of Jace. Otherwise, it's really the 3 Torrential Gearhulks that he uses to win the game.
And Donegan, no 5th land drop rolled up just yet, so it makes a lot of sense to play your Planeswalker even in the face if you think it's going to get negated. You can't just draw up until you have to discard.
So while Dylan's down on mana, Luke will take the advantage to resolve a Glimmer of Genius. So he's going to supplement a +1 card in his hand. Top 2 cards he's deciding on the scry is a land drop and a Jace.
And given that Donegan is going up to only 5 lands potentially, if he misses a land drop, then Feeney will be able to cast his Jace and see what happens.
Felidar Guardian blinking Aether Hub for Dylan, but you're right, there is no land drop for Dylan, and that means that this Jace is solid.
Yeah, the Guardian on the battlefield means that if he plays the Jace, he has to bounce the Guardian.
Right, otherwise a Saheeli Rai would kill him. Luke will play the Jace. If he bounces the Guardian, there is a Needle Spires in play for Dylan. So a land drop could knock out the Planeswalker. Dylan playing to that, but he can't do it. It's just Felidar Guardian again, making another energy. And now that Luke untaps with mana and the Planeswalker, this is a much tougher spot.
Yes. Jace can get you through your deck really quickly.
Yeah, +1. Scry 1, then draw.
The good order.
Yeah.
None of this Serum Visions nonsense.
This is the banned one. Land 6. It's another basic plains for Luke. He might just take some more cards. Weighing that actually between that and bouncing Guardian. Does have Disallow in hand. Of note, as you see, bounces Felidar Guardian. Luke has 6 lands, yes, but only 2 of them produce blue mana. Dylan, still no land drop. A lot of board control. He'll just keep playing Felidar Guardians. It's not really. See, he has Disallow, Negate, Harness Lightning, Gearhulk, Immolating Glare.
This is something worth noting, given that Donegan has access to the combo, Feeney doesn't. The Harness Lightning is in Donegan's deck, not as powerful as the Harness Lightning is in Feeney's deck.
Donegan actually just has dead cards.
Yes.
Go back over to Luke. He's going to anticipate now on end step after using a Harness Lightning to shoot down the Felidar Guardian. He is threatening to pull away at this point. He has an uncontested Jace. He can start plussing it for extra cards.
Yep. Significantly ahead on mana as well. That matters a lot in this kind of matchup.
So the Jace scries to the bottom and draws Luke a card here. Keeps making land drops and just passes. If Dylan doesn't hit a land soon, this one's going to be over. He will try for Oath of Jace. He doesn't have a land yet. And we'll see if Luke chooses to fight here.
Depending on how strong his hand this one's very tempting to counter.
Yeah, disallow from Luke Feeney. Dylan had a negate to fight back, but doesn't have the land for it, so it's countered.
And 3 looks at a land, that's worth fighting over.
Well, especially because Luke's now on a draw 2 per turn with the Jace. I feel like he can just start to spend cards more freely.
Yes.
Any sort of trade becomes a good trade. And he'll just continue to make land drops. Now, there is still some hope on Dylan's side where Luke is very low on blue mana. And Dylan does finally hit a land. It will enter tapped. You see?
Yeah, Dylan not too excited to be here right now.
All right, here we go. It's tapped. Your turn. All right, so the fact that this Jace goes uncontested so long means that a lot of times when one player gets stuck on lands, they at least have the advantage of having more cards. But Dylan's not going to get either. I like how Luke just using this advantage, you know, to play some lands and do a lot of nothing.
He gets the privilege of doing nothing.
It's great.
That's where you want to be.
Both players now still turning lands, but every turn Luke just keeps using that Jace. I like it when you can -2 your Jace down to 1 loyalty, then plus it back up to 8, then
If he gets it to 8,
win the game.
Considering Donegan's mana woes.
I mean, it means
just in general,
it'll have meant he's drawn 7, right?
That emblem seems quite unbeatable.
Oath of Jace from Donegan.
Now that Donegan's made a couple more lands drops, fighting over this one matters quite a bit less than the first one.
It is a draw 3.
Yes.
Just kind of like in Legacy, when Dylan has 2 Harness Lightnings in hand, this is draw 3 for 3.
Sure. You get to turn your trash into cards.
Yeah, and so if I said this is just concentrate on 3 mana, I think you're always countering it. And you see Dylan willing to fight over it for that reason. Here's negate. It's going to work. Big turn for Dylan. I don't know if it's enough to, say, pull him ahead, but Immolating Glare, Harness Lightning, those ones are gone. That seems great. And I love from Luke, he just already has the mannerisms of a control player too, you know, just kind of very methodically untapping, land stacking, you know, just like there's nowhere in the world he'd rather be than right here playing land drops. Just, this is great.
His mannerisms really remind me a lot of Greg Orange.
Yeah, you know.
Very content to hang around, pass the turn.
I love these cards.
I think that passing the turn is his favorite game action.
It's just, I like assembling my lands and looking at them. This is nice. It's let's see, an Anticipate End Step by Dylan. Now, you can play your lands too. We'll just both play our lands.
Just hanging out.
Yeah.
Making some land drops. Got a lot of them. I kind of lost track, but it's a lot. I got a lot. That's where I want to be.
A thing with Luke Feeney's list where he doesn't close the game at all. He has no closing speed. So Dylan actually, there's a chance that Dylan can be in this.
Yeah. He still has a decent chunk of cards in hand. Looks like 5, and he has the Saheeli on the stack.
He cast Saheeli Rai, and Luke just thumbs upped it. You know, I didn't expect that. I guess maybe now Luke will start playing some Gear Hulks. That's the plan. Glimmer of Genius, at the very least. He'll play that on end step.
And he has enough mana to cast a Gear Hulk after the fact if he has access to that.
Yeah, and he has some a Fumarole. You know, he'll get rid of the Saheeli. You just give him time.
Yeah, we'll get that at some point. And if Donegan casts Felidar Guardian, I have to imagine there's going to be some kind of action from Feeney there.
It'd be like if Luke played Gear Hulk, then Dylan. If Dylan disallows it, then okay. Then Fumarole kills the Saheeli Rai. It's fine.
Something's going to break this up.
Yeah. He's just got so many lands. It's got to be okay. Here's Jace drawing another card.
Didn't make this many land drops to lose to a 3-mana spell.
At least that's the thought. You see, yeah, 7, not discarding it. Looks like 7 cards in Luke's hand. Just keeps going up on resources. 12 lands in play now. This is... All right. He has used the Jace now for 7 turns. Drawn 5 cards off it. Quarantine Field is a play, just for X equals 1. You don't want to tap too much. No reason really to get more.
Yeah.
And you know, Dylan's gonna fight. Here's disallow. There's just no way, right? There's no way Luke can't counter back. Yeah, and Dylan knows that too. He's just putting in the graveyard already.
Yeah, I didn't really have a question of can. I was kind of wondering about will, though.
Yeah. Disallow resolves. Quarantine Field will take care of Saheeli Rai. Still 5 mana for Luke, but he's now actually kind of low on mana. Dylan does have enough mana to attempt to combo if he had it all.
He's in the range where he could have Guardian, Saheeli, and Negate.
Yeah, I mean, the big issue is this Jace that's been in play forever, right? Dylan checking. I don't think he has a Glimmer. He's going to go for Gear Hulk anyway. He's got to try to make a play while Luke is low on mana. This isn't that low, but it's about as low as Luke will ever get.
He's off Gear Hulk mana, which likely isn't going to be true for a while.
An attempt at Torrential Gear Hulk from Dylan Donegan. Anticipate from Luke Feeney. May not actually have the counter yet. He puts his own a blue Gear Hulk into his hand.
Yeah, and the Gear Hulk on Donegan's main phase is much less threatening than the end step one. Luke has a good number of sorcery speed spells in his deck that can deal with this. He still has 2 Fumigates hanging out somewhere.
And it's going to be, in response to Anticipate from Dylan Donegan, it will be Stasis Snare from Luke Feeney. That will be negated. Here's the Anticipate. Because Dylan's behind, he basically just would have had to have to counter anything Luke did there. He's got to force as many trades as possible and hope that Luke just has the wrong cards.
Yes. With how many cards Luke is seeing.
Yeah, I mean, right, he's drawn 6 off of Jace. It's not likely, not at all.
He's scryed a lot.
So, Dylan pointing, you could bounce my Gear Hulk if you like.
That is a line available to you. Luke's having none of it.
Now just keeps moving forward. So many lands that they just spill off the top of the screen. 2 mana, Harness Lightning takes care of the Gear Hulk, and Dylan's done. This is... No. And game 1 goes to Luke Feeney. Jeskai control, just beating up.
Yeah.
Whew.
Whew. Donegan missing on his 5th land drop. That gave Feeney that window where he was sure that nothing too terribly wrong could happen when he cast his Jace, and then the Jace pretty much just took over the game.
So post-board, Dylan actually gets to even things up in this matchup. When you look at the sideboards, we're going to start on Dylan's side. He had 5 counter spells in the main, and he has a ton more in the sideboard, 5 more. He can board all the way up to 12, and even to 13 if you count Spell Queller. So we see 3 Spell Quellers, 3 Dispels, 2 Negates, and then maybe another Planeswalker and a couple other removal spells. So Quarantine Field, Nahiri, Linvala. How much of this can he do? I mean, does Dylan copy Luke and board out the combo?
good chance he leaves some amount of the combo in. You want to be able to do things like cast a turn 3 Saheeli and really put your opponent on edge. But the Dispels and the Negates, those are excellent here. We've seen quite a few players bring in Spell Queller against these kind of Jeskai decks. We haven't seen that out of Donegan. I don't know that he's going to do that.
Yeah, we haven't seen too much of that. Now, on Luke Feeney's side, he actually has Spell Queller of his own, so he could have the option to bring it in. 2 Dispel and 1 Negate in Luke's board. It looks like less when you consider that he started out with 2 more. So actually, post-board, they'll be even on counter spells. Luke does have the big counter spell in Confirmed Suspicions. That one, I think, would be pretty good.
Confirmed Suspicions is very inefficient for winning a counter war, but if you find yourself in a situation where your opponent is proactively trying to Gear Hulk a Glimmer, you can really get them with this one. And anytime you can Gear Hulk the Confirmed Suspicions, that is very powerful as well. So he's going to bring in his own Dispels and Negates, and he also has Dragon Master Outcast, which is quite nice in this kind of matchup.
I was wondering about Dragon Master Outcast and maybe even Gideon Ally of Zendikar. Because he has those cards, I think he might be able to force Donegan to keep in some number of like Harness Lightning or some number of really poor cards.
Harness Lightning is a card that it can be quite awkward and often just kind of a dead card with the way that these games play out. These decks can generate energy with Glimmer of Genius, with Aether Hub, and you want to have some kind of answer to Torrential Gear Hulk. You prefer to counter it, but sometimes you have to kill it. So having at least 2 copies of that in that deck, it does just kind of make sense.
All right, well, 2 players, they're going to get ready for the second game. In the meantime, we're going to tell you about the next Grand Prix coming up from Star City Games. That's coming up mid-March. It's going to be Grand Prix Orlando.
On March 24th through the 26th, make plans to be part of Magic the Gathering history when StarCityGames.com proudly presents Grand Prix Orlando. Register by February 24th for the Kaladesh Aether Revolt limited format main event to compete for thousands of dollars in prizes and receive an exclusive playmat featuring Scrapper Champion. Select the 3-day Infinite Challenge package to compete in all challenge events for one low price, while also walking away with the exclusive Scrapper Champion playmat. All Friday challenges are also Grand Prix trials. Come out early and compete for buys in the main event and more chances to claim a Scrapper Champion playmat. Prefer 100-card formats? Register for the Ultimate Commander package to play in 4 Commander on-demand events and take home a Commander vs. Playmat and Ultimate Guard Boulder deck case. And don't forget to come say hello to Grand Prix Orlando's many special guests, including cosplayer Vanessa Martin and an artist alley full of fan favorites, headlined by guest of honor Vulcan Vaga. Be part of Magic the Gathering history. Register for Grand Prix Orlando today.
So that is March 24th through 26th in Orlando, Florida. It's going to be a sealed Grand Prix using Aether Revolt and Kaladesh.
So here's something about the sideboard game happening here. So we've talked a little bit about the wine in front of me game with the combo. Do they board it out? Do they not? When both players have access to Spell Queller in their sideboard and it's questionable how good Harness Lightning is, you have to ask yourself, is my opponent the kind of player who is going to bring in Spell Queller in this Jeskai mirror? If they are, then you want to have all your Harness Lightnings because you want to have this removal spell that can fight a counter war. That's great. You're getting more counter spells. But if they don't have Spell Queller, then it loses some value.
Well, and this is where it might go separate ways. So because Donegan has Felidar Guardian, Luke may want to keep in his Harness Lightnings.
Luke's Harness Lightnings are almost guaranteed to matter.
Right. So because of that, I don't think Dylan wants Spell Queller very much.
Yeah.
But the question is, does Luke want Spell Queller? Because I'm not sure Dylan keeps in his removal.
Well, Luke didn't put Dragon Master Outcast in his sideboard to not cast it.
No, that'll look very good here. So, but I mean, okay, so Dylan might have some Harness Lightnings as well.
Yeah, so.
In that case, I don't know if I like Spell Queller on any side of the table.
Yeah.
We did see a game earlier where in the Jeskai Saheeli mirror, a player went against Dylan, went for just the end step on turn 3, make a 2/3 Spell Queller and attack with it. That was only on Trazi. It didn't look very good.
It worked as sort of a ritual to cast Elder Deep Fiend.
Right. So if you have Elder Deep Fiend, maybe that makes sense. But neither of these players does. And if you don't, the threat of, I'm going to hit you with this 2/3, that didn't do much from the game.
It can pressure Planeswalkers just as a 2/3 flash, but the card is pretty underwhelming.
Dylan going to be on the play again for the second game. Starts out, and we're just going to trade some lands. One of the big points here that we saw last game is who's the first player to miss a land drop. And it was Dylan in game 1. Over on the other side of the bracket, those players entering game 2 as well. It is the number 1 seed, Brad Shepard, also Jeskai Saheeli, taking game 1. Players trading lands. Dylan actually had the option here to go for a turn 3 Saheeli.
Doesn't feel good to get that one negated. Dylan has more land drops rolled up than he did last game.
I suppose if you cast Saheeli, it means you can't cast this Anticipate. And, you know, I'm pretty into land drops right now.
And there's a Spell Queller in the top 3 for Donegan here.
Yeah, I noticed that. So this is interesting to see how he's trying to sculpt the game. He's got Anticipate into either Spell Queller, Blue Gearhulk, or land drop. Kind of gets to decide just how aggressive he wants to be. Looks like he went with the Blue Gearhulk. Has enough land drops in play, so it kind of takes the middle road of the two. And now it will be Saheeli, but he'll do it with a blue up, maybe representing something like Dispel.
And Dispel immediately going to the front of his hand here.
Disallow from Luke Feeney and a quick Dispel from Donegan.
I would like to resolve Dispel.
Yeah, that's strong on Donegan's side. I guess the only way he'd lose that counter war would be Dispel Negate. And because Luke's deck doesn't have Nahiri of its own, unless Luke brought in Gideon, it's not like Dylan's going to get punished on the swing back here. I mean, land Gideon, to be fair, would be really bad for Dylan.
Yes.
But
well, the thing is, Dylan would then potentially be able to just combo kill.
Right. I mean, land go, this is great. Now, we saw this before against Alian Trazi. Dylan able to sneak in an early Saheeli Rai, and that really helped him play the rest of the game from an advantaged spot. Scries the bomb, and Dylan going the mid-range plan. Now he's just going to jam Nahiri. And this is almost certain to get countered.
And what's nice about this, though, is you make Luke choose between Counterspell and Glimmer of Genius if he has both. And if he doesn't have the Counterspell,
he didn't.
Now you just have 2 Planeswalkers.
Luke had the Glimmer, but this is very dangerous for Luke Feeney. And you see on Dylan's body language here, too, just he knows, yeah, the fact that the first Planeswalker, the Saheeli, he was expecting to get that one. But this Nahiri, that was a gift.
Yes. It's all gravy.
It's not easy for the Jeskai control decks to clean up a board of Planeswalkers. The best thing that Luke can do is he has a copy of Quarantine Field, but he needs 6 mana to hit both the walkers with it.
Right. And it won't be long before Donegan potentially has access to just untap and cast both combo pieces. Just one more land puts him there.
He can do it with all his counterspells. You know, Nahiri can get the Guardian. Saheeli's already there. Discard and draw with Nahiri, a Scry with Saheeli Rai. And Dylan says go. 2 Blue Gearhulks. And, wow, this is great. I was going to say, 2 Blue Gearhulks in hand. Luke went for an end-step Glimmer of Genius, and Dylan very quick with the Torrential Gearhulk Dispel. This does open up the window to a good Quarantine Field if Luke has it.
Yeah, you could deal with both Planeswalkers. But then he does have the matter of the Torrential Gearhulk to deal with.
Yeah, and if Dylan gets to untap with some of these, it's, you know, we've seen Brad Shepard do a lot of this. The copying of the Gearhulks, the finding of extra copies of these cards through Nahiri. This can get very dominant. Skywhaler's shot, though, from Luke Feeney. That's a one of in the main, taking care of the Blue Gearhulk.
Well, now Donegan has Nahiri on 8 to find Felidar Guardian and Spell Queller in hand.
3 mana from Luke, so he would need Harnessed Lightning plus Dispel to not lose. Okay. I mean, it exists, and because it exists, Dylan might play around it. His board state's so good.
Yeah, and getting the Nahiri to 10 means that he could take that line and then still have a Nahiri around after the fact.
He can do it next turn. Who cares about next turn? Let's win. Dylan's going to -8 the Planeswalker. He could just get a Gearhulk, I guess. Nice. He's going to go for the win. Felidar Guardian targeting Saheeli Rai. There is the potential for Luke to still be in this. Saheeli Rai -2 targeting Felidar Guardian. Harnessed Lightning from Luke. Spell Queller from Dylan is... Yeah, you actually... you can't even dispel
that
back,
one.
huh? So,
Right,
okay,
yeah,
so there's
yeah.
nothing. This is just safe.
You have to have negate Harness Lightning.
So Luke hoping that Dylan's counter wasn't Spell Queller, that it was negate, but when it's...
Actually, no, you can't have anything. It has to be something that actually...
Oh gosh, because none of this is being cast, is it?
Yeah.
So Dylan just had the checkmate on the board. There's no combination for Luke that wins from there.
Yep.
Well, in that case, I think it's a really good line. If you just have it locked up. Luke has shocks. 2 shocks in the main. I guess he could. One of those that would work, right? You shock the.
Yeah, shock upstairs. Get rid of the Saheeli.
I don't know if shock's still in the deck. That's pretty aggressive if it is.
You want to have some action against the combo, though shock it's not good in many other spots.
All right, Dylan taking a quick break here as the players go back to their sideboards. And that's one thing where Dylan Donegan's deck has some advantage. Jeskai Saheeli can make that type of gameplay, which Luke cannot. Interesting part I want to ask, though, if Dylan didn't have actually the combo and was just kind of value playing these Planeswalkers, does he still get the game? If, say, instead of going for this combo, he just, like, makes some Gear Hulks, copies some Gear Hulks.
That seems like a winning recipe to me.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm getting at. Like, this was flashy, and it was quick.
Yes.
But I'm not sure, take another turn to plus, like, bring your Nahiri up to 10, leave up a Gear Hulk in your hand. Next turn, just, like, -8 the Nahiri to put a Gear Hulk into play, flashback anticipate, put Gear Hulk in your hand. Like, that's a lot of value. It might be good enough to win.
I do enjoy value.
I like the idea of putting Gear Hulk into play and then attacking and then bringing it back.
Yes.
Yeah, that's sweet.
That's a combo in its own right.
Right. Well, the good news thing for the Jeskai Saheeli deck is that Dylan's Planeswalkers, being Nahiri and Saheeli Rai, they cost 3 and 4. So they're actually doing. So yeah, we saw Jace just tear up game 1, but it is harder to resolve, especially in these post-board games when both players are on 10 counter spells.
Yes. Likely that one gets negated, and Luke couldn't just go for Jace if Dylan just had 5 lands in game 1. And he drew a lot of extra cards in that game with that Jace. We could have had a very different game if Dylan just made his 5th land drop on time.
Yeah, Luke doing a good pure counter deck, but he doesn't really. Him winning the game is going to be pretty difficult for him to resolve anything that pulls him ahead, really, right? Jace, a Dragon Master Outcast is the one I'm very excited about.
Yes.
That seems like the way he could approach it.
And, post sideboards with the negates and the dispels, you can really efficiently start a war over the Outcast, and you can potentially win the game with that one.
So for Dylan Donegan, an invitational champion, as winning his invitational 2 years ago in Las Vegas, he got to start on the Elemental token. He won it with Delver and then got himself as the Elemental for his Young Pyromancers. Now, right now, we are giving away the token of another invitational winner. That is Jacob Baugh. We've had his token on camera all weekend, and I'm assuming we're going to see that one for a while here. The Energy token, Jacob winning in Atlanta just about a month and a half ago. He's the most recent invitational champion, and now his token is available. So you can get this by showing up to any Season 1, Open or Classic. So that's going from now all the way until June. They'll be giving out this weekend. And if you can't make it out to one of our events, those are shipping in orders from StarCityGames.com. So a lot of great ways to get this token, and I'm a pretty big fan of this art right now as well. Jacob going a really great direction with it.
Yeah, really nice piece, a Dragon Ball Z reference. Of course, the Spirit Bomb, the polar bears of the earth giving Jacob their energy.
I'm winning that with the Aetherworks Marvel deck.
Creatures that he was making were more like spiders and giant tentacle monsters, not exactly polar bears. He was playing Servant of the Conduit, which is a grizzly bear.
Okay, yeah. So to bear in that sense. I don't think he has. No, it's mostly just like I guess spiders with Ishkana, Eldrazi monsters, a lot of those.
I just don't think the art would have the same kind of feel to it if the creatures were spiders and horrible monsters.
Like spiders and like Cthulhu beasts and just. Both players keeping on 7. We are underway for a third and deciding match between Dylan Donegan and Luke Feeney.
Everyone's most endearing and favorite piece of art, the spiders playing poker.
That's really close to there, but yeah.
People just like dogs more.
Land and a go for Luke. So players just kind of sequence lands here and really taking their time to get the best value out of them. You see Port Town from Dylan. He wants to get that tap land into play.
Also his second blue source where he has 2 Inspiring Vantage in his hand. Wants to be able to leave up disallow mana.
Something particular he needs to disallow early on. Out of
That's
Luke's
just
deck.
if that's the only counterspell he has, you want to be able to cast it.
There's nothing to cast it on yet. I don't.
You could have a Gideon, you know.
Okay, there are Gideons. No, that's a good point. Now, of course, he draws the basic island.
Yeah, well,
Yeah, so it goes.
can't see the future.
3 lands per player. Luke, 4th land. And here we go. First play. Well, Luke has already resolved 1 Anticipate. I don't think Dylan, not to be outdone, cast 1 of his own. Torrential Gearhulk the draw here. So Dylan, a pretty nice setup. We haven't had a good chance to see Luke's yet. Dylan's on a lot of lands, double Gearhulk, and a negate. This is just about perfect. I do like Luke's hand because he plays land 5, showing land 6. That's good for him as well. So a lot of times we've seen the aggressive role taken by the first player to miss a land drop here. Now, if not both players make it to 8, say, without missing a land drop, at some point, someone's going to instigate something, maybe like an end-step Gearhulk or...
Well, frequently what happens is somebody starts something with the Glimmer of Genius. And it's really important
counter those?
to keep track of how many cards are in their hand. Because if it's a Glimmer, that's going to put them up to 9 or 10 cards. And it's a question of where do they
then
do?
that's
Are
fine,
they
yeah.
just discarding? So there's a lot of very contextual things that start to happen when both players are executing their make all my land drops plan.
So I gotta think. Luke is, and he did this last game too. He has his lands in 3 separate piles, and I'm trying to figure out what the theme is here. Like sometimes, like I stack my duels together or my basics, or I don't.
Red, white lands, creature lands, and other lands.
Okay, we'll see if that holds. All right, no, that fits. Both players have made it to 7 without missing a beat. No real spells cast just yet. So it's like you're taking some turns off to just develop your mana. All right, that goes in the other lands pile. I got it.
Figured it out.
Why do we need it? Why red, white? Non-blue? So it's creature lands, non-blue land? No.
Well, now he's got a plains over
No, the
there.
plane's over there. All right, Dylan's going to make the first play. It's going to be a end-step Torrential Gearhulk. If it resolves, it will get him an Anticipate.
Not very exciting.
Well, the thing what I like here, so because Dylan has more sorcery speed threats, he should be the one starting this fight.
Yes.
Right, so Luke disallows, and Dylan might dispel, and Luke dispels, but then Dylan gets mana to, say, cast a Walker.
Or an infinite combo.
Yeah, that too. I like that one. I don't think there's a dispel in Dylan's hand. That's just getting countered.
It looks like Dylan is heavy on counter spells.
He may have also started the fight because he was about to miss a land drop.
That makes sense.
And he did. So now Luke getting ahead on mana. All right, Ether Hub from Feeney.
Going in the other land pile.
You're right. You figured it out. I don't understand it, but you are right.
I didn't say there was a rhyme or reason. I'm just saying that these are the categories.
Dylan tries for Glimmer of Genius. Luke's not going to fight on that one. So why is it then? So Glimmer of Genius, that one's okay. Gearhulk getting back Anticipate, that one's not. But they're both 2-for-1s.
One of them attacks you for 5.
Is that a problem? We can just trade with that.
It depends if Dylan's able to untap, cast a Healy Rye with some counterspell backup and attack you for 10. Taking 10's pretty bad.
And now we're getting to that weird discard part of the game. Dylan drawing up to 8. And to 9 he says, I'm going to discard. You got a response? Luke says no, and then Dylan discards a Felidar Guardian?
Yeah, it checks out.
Well, I'm a little surprised. Why wouldn't you cast it? What are we so we would lose the fight over a Jace?
Doesn't want to cast a Felidar Guardian and then have Luke just cast a Planeswalker or 2.
Some more lands, they go. Island goes into the other pile.
Rather be casting Torrential Gearhulk. And who can blame him?
I would like to be casting Torrential Gearhulk. I do not. That does make sense. Luke, I just love this. The pause every time Dylan makes a play. It's just about a 3-second pause. Just okay.
Yeah, he's taking his time, very deliberate.
Hey, no, this one's gonna work. It's Glimmer of Genius from Dylan Donegan off the Gearhulk, and Luke lets that happen.
Yeah, and that's putting Donegan up to 8 cards in hand. He'll draw to 9. So if Feeney has a removal spell, you almost rather do that. But now that he's letting Donegan on tap, Donegan is able to counter it. He has a lot of counter spells in his hand.
Yeah, Donegan with 9 cards would like to spend them all. And swings. This is one of the things I love in control matchups. This is in Dylan's 9th land. He had a tapped creature land, but instead he's like, no, I got to go for this basic, and I need the untapped mana.
A lot of 3-mana spells in his hand. Maybe Luke is full on things like Harness Lightning?
No, I wonder whether Luke's just playing this at a really high level. He says, I'm not going to play anything yet because it's worth 5 life for me to make you discard to hand size.
Yeah, there's certainly some truth to that.
Luke's not running out of lands. Other match going to game 3 as well. Jeffrey Ashkin forces the decider against Brad Shepard. Another hit from Gearhulk puts Luke down to 10. And Ryan, at some point here, Luke's got to flinch.
I buy your argument that he had some incentive to take 5 life and maybe try to navigate that way.
5 life for a card, maybe.
But
maybe that's fine. No, about 10.
I'm kind of feeling 10 life's a bit much.
Another land. Luke has not missed a land drop.
He's continuing to put his lands in the piles, as I suggested.
No. You just nailed it. Okay, at this point, we're done. That was the answer. It's the Inspiring Vantage pile, the Wandering Fumarole pile, and the Everything Else pile. It was so obvious. The answer was staring me right in the face.
Yeah, I just don't know how you missed it.
Luke going down to 5. But so here's my issue. Luke, this Gearhulk has Luke dead. And look at Dylan's hand. Okay, it's disallow, negate, spell queller. Okay, like it takes a lot of counter spells to get through this.
Yeah, I'm really not even in the market to fight over this Glimmer. I'm going to counter.
No, I have to counter everything.
Anything you do that matters at all, that affects anything other than the content of your hand, I'm going to counterspell.
I mean, there's only 10 mana for Dylan, so he can only play 4 counterspells.
Well,
okay, that is Dispel.
The number
Luke could play more than 4. Okay, that's a thing.
The number of spells that Luke has cast in the last 3 turns while he's been taking 15 damage is 0.
Yeah, but now he's up to enough energy that he could start with Harness Lightning on the Gearhulk, and then Luke has to play 4 counters. All right. I mean, look, the Harness Lightning at the front of his hand. That's what's happening.
Yeah.
And he really ought to do it on Dylan's turn, too,
Right, yeah.
I am interested going back. What was in Luke's hand this game? I mean, he's drawn many cards, multiple glimmers. Or 1 glimmer, rather. That was his first. But an Anticipate and a Glimmer. His entire spells cast this turn is 1 Glimmer, 1 Anticipate, 1 Disallow, and then 13 lands.
I think in the conversation here is something like, past turn, I have effects on your upkeep.
Okay.
So
well, do you think Dylan might end step a Spell Queller? Yeah.
I'm going to say yes.
Okay.
Because he did.
It's a freebie. You pass. I mean, he's at 5 now. Like, this clock's pretty good, right?
Yeah. He also has a Needle Spires hanging out.
Luke Feeney. Harnessed Lightning on Torrential Gearhulk. And watch the timing here. He waited all the way. I mean, actually, I don't want to fight here. Dylan gets to untap if I fight here, right? Yeah, negate on this is negate on Harness Lightning. Because the problem here now is if Luke wins this fight, Dylan has a lot of creature lands. All right, yeah, let's start a stack. All right, Spell Queller, in response Harness Lightning, in response negate. I don't think this is the time to fight. 4 mana.
He needs to be able to fight over more than the Gear Hulk if he's fighting here.
5 mana. Does this confirm Suspicions? It's a good counterspell, but it's the wrong time for it. Confirm Suspicions on negate.
That costs a lot of mana. Of course, Luke is not shy on mana whatsoever.
Negate on that.
Yeah, any of his counterspells still play. He could still have access to 2 of any of the counterspells in his deck.
But even if Luke wins this counterfight, he needs 2 more counterspells to win. And when he does, he's going to die to the creature land. Spell Queller on negate. This is all on Luke's end step, though. Dylan gets an untap. So Queller hits negate. Confirm Suspicions on the negate. Harnessed Lightning on Spell Queller. Dylan converting the worst counterspell, Harnessed Lightning, into another counterspell. Dispel on Harnessed Lightning. Okay, that's fine. Harnessed Lightning's countered. Dispel resolves. That's still there. That's hanging out. Confirmed Suspicions resolves on negate. Luke gets 3 clues. Harnessed Lightning on Gear Hulk. Luke out of energy. But Luke like out of mana too. But he did get a blocker into play, right? So maybe it's okay.
Just 1 Needle Spires for creature lands, I believe, for Donegan.
Yeah. If there wasn't the blocker, Donegan would have the win. Yeah, Needle Spire's activation. I mean, Luke probably has another, he needs another Dispel, right? Swing with both. Luke's hand, Donegan does not have the win right now. His hand is multiple disallows, and that's it. Luke might have gotten him.
Yeah.
That surprise blocker in the Spell Queller is really working out.
Well, Donegan had a decision on the end step there, right? Spell Queller was the counterspell when Luke had some more mana up to fight with another counterspell. Donegan could have cast one of his many disallows in hand, and they would go to his turn now with Harnessed Lightning still.
Right.
I understand the motivation. You get value if you just get to kill Spell Queller and get the negate back.
And Luke, you watch here, he blocked the Spell Queller with his Queller, went to 1. He did not want to trade with Needle Spires.
Yeah. On this turn, he'll be untapping with some stuff that's a bit better against Needle Spires,
And remember,
I
Confirmed
imagine.
Suspicions resolved. Luke Feeney has 3 clues in play.
Yeah, be able to start pulling ahead on cards here. He does have to counter any Saheeli Rise out of Donegan. He's it down to 1 now.
All right, crack a clue. Just reload. He's made land drops every turn. He's got to leave up 5 mana for that Fumarole if he doesn't want to lose. He's at 1. Dylan can present 2 attackers. Ryan, the piles are all messed up now.
Yeah, during that counter war, an Inspiring Vantage jumped ship, and I think that, you know, you let one thing slide, and pretty soon it's all anarchy.
All right. But he certainly has the mana advantage. If Luke can stay alive to convert all these clues into cards, he may be just fine. You see Gideon to play. Dylan will try to counter, disallow.
Yeah, I expect some action from Luke in response here.
Disallow of his own. Planeswalker resolves from Feeney. And I think you're right. We go back to that turn. Dylan treated Harnessed Lightning like it was the worst counterspell when it may have been the best one.
I believe he just had a lethal attack on the following turn if he just played a disallow instead of the Harnessed Lightning.
Yeah, the Lightning was one that needed to resolve. So, Gideon makes an ally token. Dylan needs help. Can he recover? It's going to be Glimmer of Genius. Just 1 card in Feeney's hand.
If Donegan finds Saheeli Rai, this game is over.
Oh yeah, +1. That's so easy. Luke will draw a card first. Glimmer's on the stack here.
And this is the spot. I really like this main deck Glimmer because Luke is tapped so low right now.
Yeah, doing it in main phase. Because Luke has so many lands. Dispel.
Let's anticipate.
Oh, it's Anticipate. Trying to find Dispel. Does find it. Cast it. Dylan, no, he will disallow. And if you're right, if Dylan can find Saheeli Rai, he's going to be going to the finals. Even if he finds Harnessed Lightning, that's good enough. He finds Dispel, Felidar Guardian. Does he want either of these?
Guardian doesn't do anything.
No, both to the bottom. Draw. Saheeli Rai is the second one.
Oh, wow.
And he plays it, pluses it. And that brings him to the finals.
The second card after scrying 2 to the bottom off the Glimmer.
Yeah. Luke, so Dylan Donegan, he is that crash course we had him set with the 1 and 2 seeds, him and Brad Shepard. He's done his part, and he's headed to the finals. But Luke Feeney for a second here played